Last night's my horror night. Welcome to the Let's Video Store. I'm your host, Bud Haddonfield, and we're going to continue with some summer carnage. Throughout the 80s and 90s, we got a lot of movies that had a long-running series, and it even goes back to the Universal Monster movies. I'm talking movies that had countless sequels, and they just kept shooting them out, and it was always a great time because we got to see our favorite characters come back over and over again. We're talking like the Halloween movies, the Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Phantasm. That's a huge one that I love that nobody ever talks about. But there are some other movies that have flown underneath the radar that not a lot of people talk about. That is just, if you're a die-hard horror fan, yes, you're going to know some of these movies. But if you're just getting into it or you're not that well-versed, you're going to not so much hear about these movies. So I would like to pretty much bring up a couple franchises. They're all kind of low budget, but we love low budget horror movies at the Last Video Store. And I'm not going to go in depths of the reviews. I can just tell you that they exist and that you can find them and they're there to enjoy and love. So the first series we're going to talk about is the Camp Blood series. Yes, it's a killer clown in the woods killing off a bunch of people. There's titties, there's blood, there's David Sterling. It's always a great time. And you can find all these Blu-rays on Makeflix, I believe, which is David Sterling's little company. He always goes to the horror conventions. He's a really cool dude, definitely a indie promoter. And all of his movies, they're cheesy, but they're always a lot of fun. But these are all the sequels to the Camp Blood series. You get 1 and 2, which comes in a 2-pack, and I'm sorry about the glare. We get part 3. And when you get the box set, you get all these retro-looking covers. Just look at that, just cheesy clown murdering goodness. And we kind of progress to Children of Camp Blood, which is cool. They even throw in a compilation Blu-ray, which is all the kills in some of the previous movies. And we get a sequel to 666, which is 666 Part 2, which is obviously an exorcism. It gets interesting when you get Camp Blood Shark. Why not, you know? You get Part 9, Bride of Blood, which is really cool because Butch Patrick, the original Eddie Munster, is in it. And 10 is an animated sequel. They're out there. They're readily available. I think you can find them all on Tubi, but the Blu-rays aren't too expensive. You can find them on Makeflix. You can find David Sterling on Facebook. I definitely love his movies. The next series we're going to talk about is The Meat Hook Massacre. Dustin Ferguson is another one of those kind of indie directors. He's made a lot of cool movies, definitely ones that I've seen and I've loved. He just did a remake of Spider Baby. He's definitely another great director that's out there that kind of makes lower budget horror movies, but that's definitely not a bad thing. So these are a whole lot of fun as well. They're very similar to Camp Blood, which they're just some little indie slasher movies. They're lower budget, but they're just cool. They got practical effects, and I keep going on about it. It's a whole lot of fun, but you know, you pretty much get a lot of just on and on fun Meat Hook Massacre-ness. That's a thing. And these have the cool covers because when you put them all together, it makes one big picture. And then you get this one right here. I believe these are on Makeflix as well. You can find these. They're definitely there if you want to check them out. I highly recommend it. The next one is the newest box set that I picked up, and it's from my buddy Joe Castro. He's one of those big-time special effects guys, but he had directed his own movies. And this is a cool box set. I've been looking for this one for a while, and it is Terror Toons. It's exactly what it sounds like, some killer cartoons, wreaking havoc, killing people. We get Lizzie Borden, not the serial killer. You're going to see who she is if you ever watch these movies. but they're just a whole lot of fun 2000s cheesiness, which is just very badass. And it just reminds me of the early 2000s, where it was just a fun, not taken serious time. The fourth one is an anthology. I believe you can find this one on Amazon Prime right now. But the Killer Toons are definitely a fun little franchise on its own right. The last one I'm going to talk about is from Chris Seaver. Chris Seaver, if I'm not mistaken, did the Terror at Bloodfart Lake movies. I really love those. There's some cheesy horror comedy slasher movies. You can find both of those along with his other movie, Evil Dead, Inbred Rednecks. I highly recommend Bloodfart Lake movies. They're stupid, but man, they're so fucking fun. But the last one I'm going to talk about with this one is going to be his Filthy McNasty series, and it's pretty much about this demon, and he's just a little filthy motherfucker. So these two girls, they kind of like some nerdy, they're nerdy, they want to be popular, they make a wish, and all of a sudden they're just taking off their glasses and they have makeup, and it's a good time. But Filthy McNasty is in the background trying to steal as many souls as he can. You can get all the Blu-rays on a 4-pack. Of course, you got Filthy McNasty, the original one, Filthy McNastier, Filthy McNastiest, and Filthy McNasty 4, Carnal Holocaust. It is what it is. The first 3 movies are shorts, but the fourth one are a feature length. Like 1, 2, and 3 are all like right underneath an hour. But it's low budget fun time, and of course you get boobies and bloods and demons that like to drag people to hell. So if you got the opportunity to find any of these movies or any of these series, I highly recommend you check them out. Support indie horror. These are just guys that just love horror movies like all the rest of us, and they want to make their own, and I totally get that. I support that, and I hope they keep doing it. There's a bunch more out there, so if you can think of anyone that you want me to talk about, let me know, because I would like to do another series videos of some lesser known horror series. So I'm Bud Haddonfield. This is the last video store. We're continuing with Summer Carnage, and I hope you all have an amazing summer. It's hot. It's too goddamn hot, but it could always be worse. So please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next episode.
Michael Myers are the heroes of my past. Now the media is dying. Chucky and the zombies now all up in cemetery. So bring me back those. I wanna come back to those times when all movies were so scary.